The future of Wisconsin's top election chief, now the target of Senate Republicans just a year out from the 2024 election.
This past week, the Senate Elections Committee held a confirmation hearing for Meagan Wolfe, the head of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Now, Wolfe did not attend, but others did, including former Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman, who was fired by Assembly Speaker Robin Vos after his review of the 2020 election. Attorney General Josh Kaul says Republicans currently have no authority to vote on Wolfe's reappointment, given a recent Supreme Court ruling.
With that, let's bring in Don Millis, chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, a Republican appointed by Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. Don, like always, good to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Good morning. Nice to see you guys.
Let's begin right there, looking back at the hearing this past week. I'm just curious what you made of it.
Well, I guess my biggest disappointment was that the Attorney General advised Meagan Wolfe not to attend. I said publicly during our meeting a few weeks ago that I thought it would it'd be good for the administrator to attend, regardless of whether you think the Senate has the authority to entertain an appointment, because what we need here is truth about election processes. And I think a lot of the testimony that was produced at that testimony were fabrications and conspiracy theories that have no basis in law. And we need to fight that. We need to push back on that. And the fact that there were very few people there to be able to push back on it, no one is probably better able to push back on some of the conspiracy theories that are out there than Meagan Wolfe. She's lived it. She knows the facts. And it would have been better if she had been there. I don't blame her for not appearing. I think she was advised by the Department of Justice not to be there. And that was bad advice, in my opinion. Bad, not from a legal standpoint, but certainly from a public relations and from the standpoint of educating the public, it was bad advice.
And privately, did you encourage her to attend? And what have your conversations been like with her after the hearing?
Well, I'm not gonna get into our private conversations, but she knows my public comments, and I think she understands my position. I think that she felt that she was between a rock and a hard place. She felt it was an impossible position, and she stated that publicly. That's why a few weeks ago, when we had a commission meeting, I was trying to encourage the commission to authorize her to go, regardless of whether we think the Senate has a role in this process. Because again, the idea is to get out there and tell the truth about Wisconsin elections. Meagan has the overwhelming support of the clerks in the state, and we're coming up upon an election, very important election. It's election security and election confidence has never been more present in the minds of the public. And so we need to be staffed for this. We need to be ready to go. And I think it was a missed opportunity to go and tell the story about what's right. Certainly not everything's perfect with the way we run elections, but we're striving to make them better. And so I think missed opportunity.
Has anyone in the Senate informed you on whether a confirmation vote will actually happen?
No, no one's told me one way or another. All I know is public comments. I understand the most recent comments that I'm aware of was that the chair of the committee has not decided whether or not to bring the nomination for a vote to the committee.
And do you think
but I've had no inside information?
Do you think that at this point the Senate has the authority to even do so?
Well, I've told people that that's beyond my pay grade. My guess is that the courts will end up making that determination. My feeling is that it made sense to nominate her and go through the process. Whether or not she's properly before the commission or the Praying decision applies here. Again, we've had a change in the membership of the Supreme Court. That was a 4-3 decision. One of the members of the majority is no longer there. So I frankly don't know.
Don, I don't have to tell you this. Meagan and the commission have been big targets since 2020. I'm curious, in your mind, what does all this uncertainty at this moment do as we look ahead to 2024?
Well, I'll tell you, it creates problems with retaining staff. We recently lost one of our most valued career employees with the department or with the agency. It's going to make it more difficult to communicate to clerks to make sure that our processes work smooth. And so I'm concerned about that. I also think it creates a lot of uncertainty among the clerks that we work for.
If the Senate were to call a vote and essentially get rid of Meagan Wolfe, what impact do you think that would have on the very things that you're telling us right now?
Well, it would certainly require a change. It would mean that the deputy administrator, Robert Kehoe, would be the acting administrator. And then there would be an issue about where do we go from there. I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. I think that would be unfortunate if that were to occur.
Don, you mentioned this is likely headed to the courts. In your mind, though, best case scenario, how does this all end and play out?
Well, I think the best place to continue is just either if the Senate were to confirm or just not act. I mean, I think at least until the 2024 elections are over. We're already preparing for the 2024 election. We approved the emergency rule at yesterday's meeting so that we can get in place and comply with some recent court decisions and to make our processes smoother and more consistent. We're already beginning preparations. And so I think that the status quo would be the best, regardless of how that occurs.
So you're saying if Senate Republicans had the votes to remove her, hold that until after the 2024 election?
Well, I guess, again, I don't think removing her is going to resolve anything right now. I think that would be bad. I think it would be bad for the election process. I think it would be bad politically for Republicans. So I just think it would be unwise because election security is an important issue, and we should be on the right side of that.
A lot of moving pieces. Don Millis, chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Don, like always, appreciate your time and insight.
Thank you.
Up next, a busy September ahead. J.R. Ross is standing by. The GOP's new tax cut proposal, high drama on the court, the First Lady in Wisconsin. All of it up next.